So guys, welcome to another episode of the Personal PR Show. And today we are here with Jess Bubbico, and Amanda Foley. And they're both from the States, but they're both Italian. So I feel at home. Also, we are joined by a lovely member of the audience, Lucy, who I'm adding to the spotlight, to the stage, bringing on stage very quickly to say hi. And Lucy, will see you later for questions. Hi and bye, and see you later. Okay, perfect. And Jess and Amanda, welcome to the Personal PR Show. We're so excited to have you here. There will be so much to learn from you today. And today is all about how to unlock your PR messaging by, what was the title exactly? By, what did we say? Girls, could you please help me?
Using human design and the gene keys.
Exactly. Thank you. I was looking for the verb. By leveraging, using, yes, you human design and gene keys. Oh my God, this is amazing because, I've been dealing with PR messaging for the past 20 years, and I never thought that one could leverage human design and gene keys. I'm not an expert when it comes to gene keys, but I've heard a couple of things about myself and about the other archetypes of the human design, and I love it. So I'm super, super curious as to what connections there are between PR messaging and human design and also gene keys. So this is going to be super exciting. But before we get started, girls, would you like to introduce yourselves maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. Amanda, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, I'm happy to. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to be here. I actually have spent about, just like you, Jessica, about 20 some years working in the PR space, mostly in healthcare. And over the last 2 years, I've been transitioning into this newer area, helping entrepreneurs to unlock their message and increase their visibility. And then, Jess and I connected. And so I'm so excited to be able to just bring this new way of looking at PR and marketing to people, because I really think that there's a lot of that people, they want a new way to do things. And so excited to get to talk about it today. Thanks for having us.
Of course. So we're two publicists and two Italians. This is amazing. We have so much overlap, Amanda. I already love you. Jess. Okay, so what we have in common is we're both Italian and we have the same name, Jess. So
exactly. And you can say my Italian last name much nicer than I can say my Italian last name. So the way you said it was beautiful. I'm like, yes. But usually people say Bubbico or some variation of that, but you add that beautiful Italian accent to it. So thank you. So I've been in the online healing and wellness space for probably about the last 8 years. And so I really love helping entrepreneurs understand their own unique way of doing business, creating business, and then getting their message out there. I think there's so many ways in which we've been told, like, you have to do it this way, or you have to have an email list that looks like this, or an Instagram that looks like this. And I really love helping people break free of those shoulds and have tos and step into what actually works for them. I think a lot of people have developed stories around like, oh, I don't know how to do an online business, or I don't know how to get myself out there. But the truth of the matter is they just haven't found their unique way. And usually once people do, it's like they can start flowing with the current of energy and start really moving in a direction and getting themselves out there in a way that feels good and starts to call the right people in.
Absolutely, I love this. So the word that we use for the title, which I took from your website, girls, unlock is really the right word, right? Because something is already there. We just need to find it and unlock it, right? Oh my God, I love it. So girls, how did you get? Yeah, please, Jess.
Oh no, go ahead.
Should I go ahead? Okay, great.
Yeah.
So how did you get to know each other, and how did you decide to work together? This is super fascinating because these two areas are not too far away, but usually they don't really come together, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting. I'm actually a little blurry on the very beginnings of this story, Amanda. I feel like Amanda found me through somebody from being on a podcast.
I actually listened to your podcast. I was a fan of your podcast. And I think I'll jump in for a second here. Yeah. You were, as I kind of moved from like the more traditional corporate world into wanting to be in this space, I listened to you all the time. And what I found so fascinating is I was trying to figure out how to take my PR from, one area to the next and I loved human design. That was something that really stood out to me right off the bat. But just like you talked so much about how, we needed to do business in a different way. And I think it really started to help me kind of connect the dots to see that, people really, we are told that we have to do it in this way because, this is the best method, or this is how it's been done, or this is how so many people have seen success. And listening to you talk made me realize that we can find our own unique way of doing things, just like we combine these, skills and modalities in different ways too, to make something really unique. And I think that really helped me to sort of see that there was a path here. And then I think as we connected too, even just to talk about PR in general, maybe for you or for your business, we started to see that there were such complementary things that we brought to the table, but we just had such an aligned vision for what could be. And so that's sort of my recollection of it. And it just sort of it just spontaneously grew from there into this, which has made me just, so lit up.
Totally. And I want to just add to that too. Thank you. I didn't realize you found me through my own podcast. So that's awesome. Cool. Yeah. I thought you found me through somebody else's podcast.
No, I listened to you. I don't remember how I found you, but I listened to you literally religiously every single week.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, that's fun. And what I want to share about this, and I think this is the real testament to understanding and using the gene keys in human design, is that really Amanda and I kind of got together because we were both following what's called your strategy and your authority, for those who know human design. And Amanda, I think, did a session with me on her prosperity sequence, which I'm sure we'll go into today, because this is kind of the root and foundation of what we use for messaging, marketing, and PR. And so we kind of got together and we just both felt this synergy. And I think Amanda was like, I would initiate something and she'd be like, yeah, that lights me up. Let's go with it. And that's really, I'm a manifestor in human design, which is all about initiating, getting things started. Amanda's what's called a generator. There's 5 archetypes, but she's a generator type, which is all about responding and following what lights her up. And I think the both of us just kept doing that, and just the amazing, we both said the other day, we're like, we feel like we're in this amazing creative wormhole where things are just coming through and things are flowing, but it didn't come from going, well, what's the perfect thing that we're supposed to do in order to make this happen? It really came from trusting and following our intuition, trusting and following, from a human design perspective, we can get into the lingo, strategy and authority, and just continuing to move with what feels right versus trying to plan and strategize to make something right.
Yes. Oh my God, I love this. Yes. Should we talk? Because I'm very, very curious now, and I'm sure that everybody at home is as well. Should we talk about the sequence that you just mentioned, Jess? It's Amanda's sequence, right? You made me that was so intriguing. I'm sure Lucy agrees. We want to know this.
Yeah. So I feel like it's important first to maybe give a little bit of background on human design and gene keys, and then we can talk about the sequence. So human design is a system. They're 2 different systems. However, human design is sort of like gene keys was birthed out of human design. So human design is a system that pulls together astrology, the Chinese I Ching, the Judaic Kabbalah, a couple of different systems, and puts them together to create a roadmap or a blueprint for who you are and how you operate. What the gene keys does is it takes some of the aspects of that, specifically the Chinese I Ching, and it organizes your profile into 3 sequences. One of the sequences is called the activation sequence, and this really has to do with purpose. And so it's looking at what is your bigger purpose on the planet, but it's not so much about like, what am I here to do? It's actually about who am I here to be? Then we have the Venus sequence, which is all about love and relationships. And so it helps us in love and relationships to see our blind spots, to see how we can essentially open our hearts and where our wounds have been. The third sequence, which is what Amanda and I are working with specifically, is called the prosperity sequence or the pearl sequence. And this is really about the mind. It's what's my contribution to the planet? What is it that I am uniquely here to give to the world? And what it does is there's 4 specific aspects of it. And so we're looking at, what am I here to do? How am I designed to make people feel? What is it that my clients, the people that I work with, value and kind of draws them into my sphere? And then the third one is, what's the reward that comes from me doing this work? And that reward actually it is connected to money, but it's actually a bit more about the type of lifestyle that I don't say lifestyle, like what do I want to receive in return for the work that I do? Some people it's simplicity, some people it's recognition, some people it's celebration. It just really depends upon what your kind of genetic makeup is. Do you have anything to add to that, Amanda?
No, I think you summed it up perfectly. But yeah, it just gives us sort of this insight into what is there already. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about that too, but it's, you know, you sort of then, it's like the map that you can't see when you don't have this. It just shows us what I think we already sort of inherently maybe feel in our hearts and our souls.
Wow, girls, this is super fascinating. So basically you uncover the prosperity sequence of a certain person. And then with you, Jess, right? And then with you, Amanda, then an entrepreneur can work on their messaging based on this sequence, right?
Exactly. And strategically too, like we give people very practical ways to use it. And I know we'll get into sort of how we do this, but we even have Jess and I have our own process of how we sort of get there. And so we want to work with each person to figure out what's their way to sort of start up here and then boil it down into something that they actually can use in an email or, you know, a pitch or whatever it might be, you know, social content. There's all different, you know, applications.
Oh my God, this is amazing. Yes. Wow, super fascinating. But before I ask my next question, I would like to bring Lucy to the stage because she made a comment in chat here on Zoom. And Lucy, you expressed your great love for Gene Keys. So is there any question that you would like to ask about it or about, you know, Gene Keys and its relationship to messaging? Lucy, by the way, is a marketer, girls. So she looks at—
It's actually something that I'm really... Yeah, what I wanted to say. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I immersed myself into Gene Keys about half a year ago, and it just opened my eyes, mind and heart so much. And there was so many confirming like modalities of my heart and myself even, I would say. And it's just beautiful when I contemplate about whatever gene key I opened the book for. It's just amazing what you can discover there. And I was really intrigued by your approach because I'm originally a marketer. I always look for systems and strategies, how to implement and how to translate something that is too out there for most of the people to something actionable. So that was one of the reasons why I really wanted to be live here, in case that I do have some question and that is burning I need to ask. But I know that you will not go into details, but I do not have any specific question right now because you kind of answered already that you work as a team, that you have your strategy, how to actually bring the Pearl sequence into the action in this world and bring our gifts to the people. So I do not have any question for now, but I really do appreciate the way how you work because it's really structured. I love structures because they allow me then to have the freedom to express myself and just to live in that flowy state. So yeah, I'm really happy that I'm here.
Yeah.
I'll just add to that too, that I feel like, and just we've talked about this, like human design is sort of the mechanics of it all. And it gives us a lot of the how we do it. And then the Gene Keys really adds the color and the, you know, the flavor to it all that gives us the words. And I agree with you. You know, this is something we've talked about too. It feels very esoteric, but when you actually contemplate it and sort of like, for me, I sort of start by taking notes from the sphere in the book. And then I have these iterations where I boil it down and then take it to the next level and take it to the next level. And eventually it really turns into language that you can use in your everyday life. Like we were saying on our podcast last week, you know, you don't want to send someone an email that sounds like Shakespeare or something, you know, like a Buddhist teaching. And not that that's not wonderful, but people aren't necessarily going to relate to that or respond to that. So, you know, we've found ways to sort of help people, and we all get there in our own way, but to actually take it and make it into everyday language too. And even if it's just pulling out the keywords, but then also the how, which comes a lot from strategy, authority, profile, and all of those things from human design too. So it's fun. I know we have a great time just doing it for ourselves.
Totally.
Oh my God. So how does it work? How can we discover our human design and our Gene Keys?
Great question. Well, first off, I want to just add in really quickly, Amanda, Amanda started working with people in this industry, and I think really realized that, like, how do we need it? There's so many people who are doing, I can't speak for you, but I know it was like that realization of how do we kind of boil this down and distill this down to be able to make it translatable. I mean, we're in such a time right now where clearly the planet's going through a huge evolution, and clearly a lot of people need a lot of healing, and a lot of people are jumping ship from corporate into their own businesses. And I think that exactly what Lucy was saying and what Amanda was saying is like, how do we get this to be translatable and create these really simple structures in order to be able to flow and create freedom, but also to be able to translate what we know to people who might need it, that this stuff can sound a little bit airy to some degree. And I think one of the things that Amanda and I really do well, or that comes easily, is I think a lot of people have said to us, like, Gene Keys is out there, or Gene Keys, it is very like the very esoteric language, and what do we do with it? And I think being able to ground it down to earth is something that is really important. So okay, how we do this, how we can find out our Gene Keys and our human design. You can actually look up your Gene Keys profile over at genekeys.com/free-profile. So Gene Keys, GENE keys, KEYS.com/free-profile. And so what this is going to do is it's going to pull up, the first page has some nice information that you can read. And then the second page has all these bubbles and spheres and numbers within it, which is where the sequences are.
Awesome. Do you know what I was doing? I was just providing the URL into our chat on Facebook, so everybody can go and check it out. Gene Keys. Okay, done. So guys, you have no excuse.
Perfect.
You have to go and find out your Gene Key right now. Awesome, that's great. This is something that I will do certainly when we are done here, because I'm super curious. I know my human design, but I have no clue about my Gene Key. Okay, awesome. So so first we find out our human design, and then we go into the Gene Key, because you said Gene Keys, because you said that the Gene Keys are a part of human design, right?
You don't necessarily have to look at one. Some people start with the Gene Key. Some people start with human design. You don't necessarily have to start with one system or the other. Some people, Lucy, it looks like maybe you started with, I don't know which one you started with, but if you want to type it into the chat, you can. Oftentimes it's kind of this natural, she started with Gene Keys. Yeah, it's this sort of natural evolution where people begin with one or the other, or maybe they never switch over to the other one. But you don't have to, we like to use components of both. So we don't just use Gene Keys in what we're teaching. We do bring in other aspects of human design into what we do as well. We kind of blend the two.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
And should we talk about maybe a practical example? Maybe let's say a messaging that you developed for clients of yours that you worked with together. So what happened? So you met this client and then they wanted to work with you, and then maybe did they start working with you, Jess, and then they continued working with you, Amanda? How did it work, and how did that messaging change? Would you feel
Yeah, we actually are launching our own beta course, because we've both done together. Amanda's done the PR strategy side, and I love activating people and helping them get the words. And so we're actually bringing it together for our beta course. But Amanda's been, I don't know, Amanda, if you want to share about your experience with your own sequence. I know you were talking about it this morning, but I think it could be cool to even talk about how we've done it with ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's really interesting because I feel like with human design and the Gene Keys, sometimes we start down a path where we're really aligned and we're living our design and we're living our sequences without even realizing it. So for me, I almost backed into it when Jess and I kind of, we had done that reading a while ago, long before this, and probably when we first, early on, but then, maybe it was sort of back there and integrating and I wasn't thinking about it. But when we actually started this process and I started to look at my own sequence, I really started to see how the way I was being led is exactly there. Because at first I was like, oh, I'm just going to do PR for either for people or teach people and use their human design in terms of telling them how to put it out there. and maybe looking at some elements for messaging. But when I actually started to look at this and Jess and I started talking, I was like, the message is literally right here. I mean, why would we sit there? And, again, for me as a generator, staring at a blank page is really difficult. And so when I started to take notes from the spheres and see how this information came together, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm doing and what I'm being led towards. So, I mean, even just looking at, say, like one of the pieces that Jess had mentioned is vocation. And so when I look at it, mine runs from the shadow of dullness, which I felt that my PR work was very dull before I moved into this space. And, through the gift of magnetism. And when I look at all of the color that's in there within the sphere, I started to see that literally I had to push myself out of my comfort zone, which is a big part of vocation, but you also sort of are here to help other people do the thing you had to do yourself. But it's literally seeing that we can release the pressure on ourselves to do it like everybody else. So when it feels dull, when it feels hard, when it feels mundane, oftentimes that's telling us something. And so when we personalize it, right, and we do it in a way that feels good, that resonates with us, that feels aligned and doesn't feel like there's this pressure to perform or follow a structured, very structured process that maybe has worked for some people, or some people find it just isn't working for them and they get very frustrated or discouraged. But when we actually unlock this messaging within us, we put it out there, we become magnetic in the sense that we're putting our true frequency out in the world. So it's sometimes not even as much what we're saying, but people are hearing the truth in our message because it's literally from our genetic code. And so for me, what that did, it created magnetism for me in so many different ways in terms of drawing in the right people, the right opportunities. But I also believe that it creates magnetism for my clients because, or the people that Jess and I work with together, because we are doing it in a way that is exactly designed for each individual person. And that, to me, that is what creates magnetism. So that's just like one example of sort of taking something and boiling it down into the way I describe what I do for, with people.
Oh, wow.
Totally.
There's a whole conversation that is going on, especially in this industry for a few years about authenticity and how authenticity is magnetic. And you're so right, girls. I mean, you have to find your own, in this case, human design and Gene Keys, like your own voice. So you truly align, so you can really be authentic when you go out there, and so you can really be magnetic. Oh my God, this is amazing.
And you can believe it. So I think that's the other piece I left out that's really important is, sometimes, again, we put words on paper, but we maybe don't feel confident enough to truly own them. And our subconscious maybe questions whether or not I should be saying these things about myself. But when you actually find that it comes from within you, I think people also, then that's part of the frequency. They really own it and claim it in a way that feels truly authentic and confident. And that's a big part of it too.
Absolutely. This is amazing. Wow. So cool. Jess.
Yeah. I want to comment on something that I find really neat and interesting because the reason that Amanda and I came together is actually, there's multiple reasons. Like I said, it kind of just flowed, but as we actually dive deeper into our own sequences, I'm really good at helping people get started and initiating people and starting to get the language together. And Amanda is really amazing at strategy. And so being able to bring these two aspects together, especially within our design, to go, okay, this is amazing. Like I'm actually really lined up with the thing I do well. You're really lined up with the thing that you do well. But the thing I want to point out, so we have this beta course that we just launched and we have an application for it. And the really interesting thing is that Amanda and I did a podcast on our approach and what we're using. And people keep grabbing onto and putting into the application this one line that Amanda said that actually deeply connects with what she just said. Right. There's some vibration. There's something, I mean, again, it can be a bit airy, but it's like there's something she's saying that's resonant with herself, that is resonant with other people, that's making them go, I want that, like, or I want to connect with her. And basically what she said is, if something's not working, and this is, I'm gonna butcher how you said this, Amanda, but it's something to the effect of, if something isn't working, it might not be that you need to throw out the whole, that you don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. I don't know if that's an Italian saying, but it's an American one. You don't have to get rid of everything. You just simply probably need to take a different perspective, look at it from a different perspective and do something a little bit differently. And it's the Gene Key 15 that Amanda's talking about. It's about we don't need to escape. Like, we don't need to look at something that feels dull or that isn't working and run away from it. We just need to reimagine it. And if you listen to what Amanda said at the very beginning about my podcast, she said, you talk about doing it differently. We can do business differently. We don't have to do it the same way. And that's a major part of my own prosperity sequence, which is what we use when we're talking about how to craft our message. So if I'm sitting around spending my time actually thinking about and honing my message in terms of the thing that people vibe with, I say a lot of stuff on my podcast. You can tell I like to talk, but that's the thing that she grabbed onto, right? Is that thing that is my essence and me and what I'm about. And so I think what we're really helping people to do, there's a meme on the internet that's like about going home for Thanksgiving. And it's like me when my family asks me what I do for a living. And it's like just this awkward stare at the Thanksgiving table, right? And I think it's because where we are in terms of business has been going on since, before there were computers, internet, like even probably like spoken language there's always been exchanges that have been going on. And so whatever it is, I want to marry your daughter, you give me 50 goats, we're good. But it's like, I think understanding that language is evolving. And I think so many of us just don't have the language. And what we found is using the gene keys in human design can really help us to find the language so that when somebody asks us what we're doing, we're not staring at them blankly, and we're actually being able to communicate a message effectively to say, I'm here to help people do business differently in this arena, or help people reimagine what's possible for them instead of running away from what they've been doing, actually be able to reimagine what they're already doing and make it stand out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Jess, exactly what you're saying too, is what I even did with my own career. And that's why that is a statement that is very true for me, is that I was ready to give up PR entirely because I couldn't see a path forward that felt good to me. And literally, and that's why I say, when we look at our vocation, it's literally what we had to sort of heal in ourselves that then we're going to help other people do. And and as Jess said, it was a shift in perspective. And when I shifted my perspective, what felt dull became very attractive to me again. Mm-hmm. And so it's amazing when you start to see it in practice. And I think we see the truth in it personally. And so that's what makes us feel confident that we can help other people do the same.
Yeah. Oh my God. Totally. And I love this whole idea of shifting perspective and reimagining our life, our professional life. What is it that we offer? And I think there's a huge difference between what you have just said, which I totally subscribe to, and at the same time, what we have been taught, at least in PR school, Amanda, and maybe probably Lucy as well in marketing, which is all about be audience-centric, be client-centric, which is great. We have to be audience-centric, certainly. Like when you think about PR, the first thing that even before you start thinking about anything that you would like to put out into the world, you have to consider who you are talking to, right? So target group, target audience, it's always king, right? And then from then, like everything follows, right? And I still completely think that this is how we have to proceed. But at the same time, we have to look into ourselves as well. Who are we? What are we meant to do? Exactly. Which is something that I really, really love, because a lot of times I see, especially marketers, but sometimes PR people as well. Maybe you've observed this phenomenon as well, girls, but I see that they are really just into the analytics. They're just studying the audience and they're just giving the audience what they want and giving the client what they want, because at the end of the day, they want to sell, right? And then they go and maybe they'll kind of wear a mask. We're talking about personal PR and personal branding. Then this person, the business owner, puts on a mask that certainly is going to be pleasing for the audience and attractive, and maybe attractive theoretically, that is going to sell and so on. But then the person under the mask is completely a different one, right? There's no alignment anymore. And then after a while, the difference is so big, this delta becomes so big that then you're not attractive anymore, you're not magnetic anymore, which is exactly what you said a few minutes ago, Amanda. So I really want to acknowledge you girls for bringing this shift in perspective when it comes to what we need to focus on when we are creating our message. It's not just about the target audience, it's ourselves as well. And then the two things have to come together. Oh my God, I love this.
And Jess, I don't know if you want to talk about culture, because I think that you probably were thinking the same thing.
Yeah. I love what you're talking about. I mean, I think we're moving into a time that's all about values-based marketing. You know, if you think about it, this is funny. I don't know if you have this in Switzerland or Italy, but I'm thinking about the fact that, like, at least in America, you can go on dating sites and like date based on your values. Like we have farmersonly.com, right? Or like we have these different, like we're at a time where I think I just talked to somebody who said this last night. She was like, I think the market is so saturated with people that want to do or that are doing what I want to do. And I think to myself, to me, it's no longer so much about what you do in terms of like being a life coach or being a marketer or being a PR person. It's actually about what you value and what your clients value. And so there's actually a part of your prosperity sequence that looks at what do your clients value. And I think when we can ground into that, so again, like mine is all about doing things differently, a different approach, stepping out, being able to reinvent yourself. You know, we don't have to stay the same all of the time. We're going to grow. We're going to evolve. We're going to have our own style. And so really encouraging, I'm inviting in clients who are going, I value doing things differently, finding my own style, maybe even being a little bit out there if I want to be a little bit out there, whatever it may be. And so I think that that's one of the things that we've really found with this is that it's not so much about finding, you know, the target audience that's like a single white female in her 20s or 30s who owns a bunch of dogs and likes to brunch with her friends on Saturday and, you know, works hard during the week. Like, it's not about that anymore. It's much more about what do your people value and how do you infuse what your people value throughout your entire brand, your message, and how you're putting yourself out there.
Mm-hmm. I think we're finding that too, even with the people that are applying to the course. I think there's been some people in industries outside of what we ever would have expected that are expressing a lot of interest in this. And so I think that's the exact point. If we would have, you know, and again, I agree with you on the targeting of the audience, Jessica, because I think you always have to have some idea of where you're going, right? And the culture gives us that. But I think we would have maybe limited, at least I would have limited us in a way if I would have said, well, we're only going to focus on coaches, where we're seeing, you know, people that work in the beauty industry and stylists and massage therapists, people, you know, the veterinary industry. And so we're seeing this, you know, much broader, you know, subset of people coming in that I think, you know, that maybe we would have expected, which is interesting too.
But totally. Please, Jess. And then
I was just going to. No, it's such a good point, because I think that's like what Amanda just said. When we put out there, like we came together and we're like, okay, we're going to write this. We're going to write our landing page. We're going to talk about this from the perspective of like our own sequence and what's important to us and all of that. And I mean, we literally could not have predicted, like we're literally getting people in the beauty industry, the massage industry, like different industries we just weren't expecting. And I think that's the beauty of this as well, is that it's no longer just people that fit into necessarily like a certain category. And I think especially looking as well at, do you know what your profile lines are, what your two numbers are, Jessica, in your human design? You know, you said you're a manifesting generator, but it'd be like a 4-6 or a 6-2 or...
I don't know yet. I don't know.
Okay.
Lucy may know, Jess, because she has her chart. So you could use Lucy as an example.
Yeah, on stage.
And I saw Lucy put something in the chat too. So Lucy, go ahead. Do you want to come off mute?
Okay, yeah, I think that I am a 5-2 generator. I'm definitely a generator. I do have it here. Yeah, it is. Hold on. I don't know where these numbers come from. Can I see them in the picture, or do I have to? Oh, you can't see it. Or do I have to?
Okay, so what you'll, it's not in that one. I think you have to scroll down. If you
she could look
down,
at, she had her sequence. We could just look at life's work and what am I saying?
Yeah. So if you look at, what's your life's work number all the way at the top?
It's 36.5.
Okay. And then what's the one all the way at the bottom under purpose?
It's the dullness, magnetism, fluorescence is 15.2.
It's a 5-2.
5-2.
So yeah.
It's so funny. I just met another person the other day who's a marketer who has the same activation sequence that you have. So that's funny. Okay. So basically what we can look at with this is, and Amanda, feel free to pop in at any point as well. When we have somebody, when we look at that number 5, this is all about being able to provide practical solutions to people. And so we heard Lucy literally say in her own language, I like having a structure because when I have structure, I have freedom. And I think being able to have things that provide a sense of practicality, but also allow us to have heart is a really big thing when it comes to the 5th line. So when we look at something like this, we can look at what type of content is Lucy putting out there, whether it's from a social, let's say as an example, I like using social media because I think a lot of people dislike social media because they don't know what to post. Lucy, as having that 5, it's like, okay, Lucy, what kinds of practical solutions can you actually provide for people? Let's say you talk about marketing. Let's say you have a marketing business. You like to talk about marketing. Can you create swipe content that helps to give people practical solutions to their problems with marketing? Right. Or, and things like that. So it's like, we can take these numbers and start to create our own really. And then we could look at being a generator as well. So are you hearing your clients all saying the same thing about where they're struggling with marketing? That really makes you excited. It lights you up. Then you can go and take that 5th line and go, okay, I'm going to provide practical solutions on Instagram, on whatever, to be able to help people with this specific area that I keep hearing coming up for people.
Mm-hmm. And even that too, like trusting that what comes most naturally to you, Lucy, is what people need to hear from you. So you may sometimes look at it and think what I'm sharing isn't, maybe it's not earth shattering enough or whatever, but it is, because what feels the most, like, you know, what you're the best at without even having to try, let's say, like they're the things that people are going to want to hear from you. And people are going to be, as the 5 too, with the double projection field, I feel like people are going to be looking to you for a lot of potential things and solutions. And
thank you very much. Thank you. I do not want to hijack the conversation, but I did put a question into the chat if you want to go through it and if you want to add something to it, because I'm in a pivoting stage of my business, because I used to be a marketer, I burned out, I pivoted to food, I don't even know, 3 years, 4 years, something like that. And now I feel like I need to do something that feels bigger than myself. And it feels like photography is probably going to be a part of that as a tool, but I can't imagine myself being a photographer only for the rest of my life. So my question was about if you do have any recommendation, if there is sort of a point either in the parallel sequence or the whole parallel sequence, how to start gaining the clarity of what this new direction might be, because I do have a rough idea. I know how I want to feel. I know where I'm at my best, but I struggle to find actually that puzzle piece that will be like, oh yeah, this makes sense. I can bring value, because everything that I feel I am the best at is too wishy-washy out there, and I'm more poetic than practical at this point of that journey. So if you do have like, where should I look at and where should I ponder and contemplate and look at more, it would be helpful, but you do not have to answer that.
I would give you one big one, which for me as a generator, you know, the fellow generator, is just, you know, you may think it's wishy-washy or you may feel like it's up here, but if you keep following where your sacral is, I don't know if you're a sacral authority or emotional, but where it's leading you, and if you're feeling like that's where you need to go, it's literally, to me, it was slowing down, and I burnt out myself. So I'd very much relate to that. And I think it was really, for me, it was slowing down and letting it come to me, which is so, it's like the antithesis of what our bodies want to do sometimes too. And I feel like, and as a 2, following what comes most naturally to you too. So if it's some combination of this, trusting that too, like even before, like more, not that you can't dive into the sequence itself, but for me, like in trying to figure out where I wanted to go, that was probably the most powerful thing that I did, was sort of just surrendering into what I was meant to magnetize to me.
Okay.
And
I think I do. Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I think the thing that, and this is one of the things we're driving home in this, talking about this work is working with the pearl sequence and the prosperity sequence. It's less about trying to figure out what the thing is and allowing the thing to reveal itself to you. And so the idea is that Gene Keys is built upon contemplation, and contemplation is about, what does this mean to me? How does this feel for me? How do these words resonate for me? Right? Even if we think about it from the messaging perspective, two people might get something completely different out of the exact same gene key, based upon their experience, where they are, what's important to them. And so if we go into this work going, what's the exact thing, then we can end up sort of feeling stuck, because the whole thing is, if you think about even opening a door, if you keep trying to push on a door that you need to take a step back and actually pull open, then we end up, the door gets more stuck. We don't get where we need to go. And so I think sometimes exactly what Amanda said, it's that like slowing down, no matter what type you are, and allowing yourself to actually sit with your sequence is going to allow you to have these aha moments that go, oh my gosh, the gene key 36, thinking about that gene key, it's all the shadow of turbulence and helping people to come into compassion, right? So maybe what of my experience has been, my life's work is my brand, and what my brand is all about. How does that resonate for me? In what ways do I actually want to start to share with people, moving from a very turbulent experience to a place of being able to have compassion for self and slowing down? And then, so we can start to actually weave these pieces together versus going, I've got to figure out, and I'm not saying you said it like this, but it's like, what is the thing and how do I do it and how do I change? It's actually allowing the thing to change you by being with it, slowing down, and actually giving yourself space to breathe and consider how this could be, put out into the world or put into a career change.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. And guys, you have mentioned a couple of times that you're coming up with a better course. So what does it all include, in the sense of what are the modules? What do you talk about in these modules?
Yeah. Do you want to share, Amanda, or do you want me to share?
No, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So our class is called Magnetic Messaging and PR by Design. And so basically what we're doing is we're taking people through an 8-week experience to discover what their message is, and then simple strategies to start getting it out there. We are working with people who are practitioners or business owners of some kind, who are really looking to sort of clarify and refine their message and then get themselves out there. So like we said, we have people from all different industries who are coming in, who are asking that question of like, how do I differentiate myself and how do I put myself out there in a way that's going to actually resonate for me and call the right people in to work with me. So it's 8 weeks, it's live. We have a Monday night group, and then we're going to be opening up another group during the day, another day of the week, just depending, because I know we have people from all different countries who are interested, and 6 p.m. is like 3 a.m. I think probably in like Italy or Switzerland. So we're going to be opening up a daytime slot as well. We can send you all the information as well. It's at messagingbydesign.com.
Yeah, we will be sure to include the link in the comment section of this Facebook post, and certainly also on YouTube when the interview goes live there as well. This is amazing. Yes. Amanda, is there anything that you would like to add?
No, I think we've covered everything. And if you let us get started, we'll keep going again. So I'm sure. But no, we're really excited to offer this. I think, I'll just kind of conclude by saying that I think we're seeing there's a lot of interest just in doing it a different way. And so we're really excited to give people the opportunity to try to do it their way, and not the way that, is always, and it works for some people to do it that way, but I don't think it works for everybody. We're unique and differentiated. And I think it's a beautiful thing to go out and be ourselves and feel authentic and share that with the world.
Yeah, this is so good. Absolutely. So much needed, especially in this industry, because we're all personal brands. So it's particularly important that we are aligned, right? Yeah, so we have an aligned messaging. So I do have one last question, which is sometimes interpreted as a silly question, sometimes by other people as a very, let's say, intriguing question. I don't know. let's see what your reaction is. But the question is, I'm going to ask it to both of you. So girls, Jess and Amanda, what is a question that I didn't ask you over the past 52 minutes, but I should have asked you?
I'm trying to think. I feel like you asked such good questions, and we all were led in a very nice direction. Oh man.
I know. I mean, I always ask this question every single interview, and I've done like 70 interviews thus far. But once the question came back to me,
you know what I would say? I think it's that's a great question. It's sort of like if, when we media train people, we say like, what's your you have the throwaway question at the end. What I would just say too, is that if anybody has more questions and they want to learn a little bit more and they're not able to find what they need on the website, that Jess and I are more than happy to answer questions, whether that's via DM on Instagram or via email or hopping on a quick call, because we want people to feel comfortable. We don't just want anyone to sign up because they, again, like the whole sort of like fear and lack mentality that I think happens with a lot of these courses. We don't want people to feel like they're missing out on something, but we want to help them make the right decision too. So I would say that that's one thing that we could add.
Oh yeah, definitely. So the question would have been, would you be open to our audience reaching out to you directly? And your answer would be yes. Amazing, yes. Perfect. We've got it. We've ticked this off. Amanda, how about you, Jess?
I don't actually have any. I feel really good and complete, but I'm curious the question we could ask you. And I'm also curious where you're from in Italy, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah, I'm from Lake Como, up in the north. So very close from the border. I'm basically from the border. Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But anyways, tell us, is there anything that we didn't ask you that you want to ask or share?
Oh, thank you. No, I am very, I feel complete, as some people say. So thank you so much. But maybe Lucy, is there anything that you would like to ask the girls before we all go? Okay. Oh, what did I do?
Oh, are you still there?
We are, but I made a mess with the gallery. So just a second. Sorry. Okay, cool. So we're all here.
Can see only myself. I actually do have one question. It's, as you talked about the value-based marketing, which I absolutely resonate with, is there any other observation that you see in your field and your space that people are around you waking up to this idea of relating to each other in a more authentic way? Is there something else as big as this that you see, that you can observe that is happening? If there is any other shift, how people perceive businesses?
That's a really good question. The immediate thing that comes to me is I feel as though people want to buy from people that they feel connected to in some kind of way. And so I do feel one of the biggest things I've been noticing is people getting themselves out there, whether it's via speaking on podcasts or whatever, so that people can actually feel you, I think is really important. I think we're in the age where we can go on Instagram and connect with our favorite celebrities or whoever, and there's so much more accessibility. And I do think that connection and being able to feel that person is big. I don't know if that answers the question, but Amanda, if you have anything.
No, I would echo that 100%. I think the other thing, Jessica, you'll probably appreciate this too, is that I think what I found was a lot of people weren't using PR. They were using social or other marketing tactics. And so for me, when I entered this sort of like realm and started to explore, everybody that I worked with, it was because I heard them on a podcast or had like saw some sort of personal interaction in an article. So some sort of earned media. So I think that was sort of the first thing that helped me to see that. But then to Jess's point, I realized that PR was a vehicle that can allow that in a much different way than marketing, because it's not just what you say about yourself. It's what other people are essentially saying about you by inviting you in. So I think that's the perfect,
Thank you, Amanda, because I feel that sometimes I'm alone in this battle, in this world where everybody's on social media. I'm like, yes, social media, yes, own channels, yes, but please earned media as well, third-party channel endorsement, please, please, please. Yes. I really try to hammer this in all of my students and clients, like this concept, and they get it now. But to educate like a broader audience is not easy because you have to keep repeating it. So thank you so much for reinforcing this message.
No, I'm with you.
Lucy, as a marketer, I know that you appreciate as well. Probably not as much as a publicist, but I think that you're open-minded. You understand publicists as well.
And thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Awesome, girls. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for this lovely hour together. And we will be sure to include all of the links that you have, your Instagram, and then all your Facebook, and certainly the link of the website that is dedicated to this amazing offer. Please come back. I don't know. When are you launching the offer? When is it going live?
It's already live now. It starts on October 13th. So
February.
February. There's October. Where did that come from? It starts February 13th. I haven't had my morning coffee yet, but it does start February 13th.
In about 14 days. Okay, perfect. Great. Let us know. Come back when maybe when the course is over. So then you can report to us what the experience was like, and best practices, I don't know, incredible stories and transformations that you catalyze in your clients. We would love to know.
Amazing.
I love it. We'd love to come back. This was wonderful. Yeah. Thanks for having us, Jessica. And nice to meet you, Lucy.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Perfect. Then I wish you a lovely day in the States, and we are going to sleep very soon here in Europe at 4 p.m. All right,
sleep well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody, thank you for watching for following us on the Personal PR Show, and see you tomorrow for another episode. Bye. Ciao.